next item on the agenda is presentation of student achievement. Tonight we're going to have Salem High School, and turn it over to Mrs. Palmer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carney. It is my pleasure to welcome the Salem High School, members of the Salem High School staff here this evening. I believe we're in for a treat as they present about Naviance, which is an online tool used by students, parents, and staff as preparation for college and career readiness. So as a high school parent, I'm looking forward to this presentation as well. So without further ado, Mrs. Collier will begin.
So good evening, and I'd like to begin by each of you recalling the memories you had about the college application process. The day you entered high school, you started thinking about what you might want to study and where you are going to college. So what to study, you may have courses you took piqued your interest, conversations with your parents, or research at the library to figure out what you wanted to study. Then where to go to school. I don't know about you, but after taking the PSATs, my mailbox was filled with brochures and postcards and booklets from colleges. There were no virtual tours, there were no college websites at the time. So after reviewing all of those brochures, if you found a school that piqued your interest, you had to pick up the phone, call the admissions office, and request additional information and a paper application. You probably remember taking all of that time to type up all of your college applications individually, chasing down individuals for your letters of recommendation, and then you mailed off your applications. And then you waited. And you checked the mailbox each day, and you knew from the size of the envelope that you received, I can see Michael smiling, you knew from the size of the envelope you received if you were accepted or if you were denied. A thin single envelope meant you were denied or waitlisted, and if you received a thick envelope, you were accepted, and it included all of the course selection information, your room, your roommate, your meal plan, all of that. Well, things have changed these days, and our Salem High School students have something called Naviance, and it streamlines all that process for them and makes it much easier for parents and staff and students. So now I'm going to introduce Nicole Burke, our Director of School Counseling, and she will tell you about Naviance.
Thank you very much. Certainly it's very exciting for us to be able to come and share with you all of the tools that we have within our office and everything that we do with it, and help educate you and answer any questions you might have afterwards. So if there's anything that we can give you more details on, certainly let us know and we'll run through it. I'll have a few guest speakers as well to join and talk about their experience with using Naviance. So moving forward, what we will do is talk a little bit about the purpose, why we have the tool, the Naviance Family Connection, what we do with it, and the different uses for the different people who are invested and involved in the college application process. So certainly students, parents, teachers and staff, the school counseling department, all of us have kind of a different role that we take on within the Naviance Family Connection portal. I'll talk to you a little bit about all of that, and then if there are any questions we can answer and take care of you for you at the end, we will go over those as well. So what you should know first and foremost, for those of you who haven't seen it before, the Naviance Family Connection portal is really a one-stop shop for all post-secondary planning that students will do here at Salem High School. In there, they have access to their standardized test scores. They'll have access to all sorts of different college information, and as well as career information as well. And they'll link those two together to find out a little bit more about themselves, what's interesting and important for them, and then what they should be doing while they're here in high school to set themselves up for future success. Everyone here at school and within the Salem High School community has a unique role that they play, but all of us kind of tie into the Naviance Family Connection portal, so I'll go over each of those with you. When a student signs in, this is what the family portal will look like for them. They'll have 3 different tabs across the top that you can see: colleges, careers, and about me, and each of those serves a different purpose for the student. They'll have quick access to different links that they would look at most often. You'll see a link on there for registering for the SAT or ACT, some of the important links that they'll go to throughout the college application process, and the FAFSA for filing for financial aid is linked in there as well too. A little message portal on the right-hand side, so as we send out reminders or notifications for students, they have access to those messages. They're just sitting in there for them. And then also just some other things that might be timely we would post up on that welcome page as well. Really anywhere that a student has access to the internet, they can get onto the Family Connection portal. There's a link right on there, theconnection.naviance.com. /SalemHS works, or there's also different links on our actual high school page and the guidance webpage as well. So as we get started, when students enter their freshman year here, they will take freshman seminar at some point, either quarter 1, 2, 3, or 4. And two of our school counselors, Maureen Fabrizio and Sean Brown, are our freshman counselors. They go in and they work with students during freshman seminar, spend about 3 of their 8 class periods together, introducing them to the tool, making sure that they know how to use it, and also having the students take the career interest profiler on there. What that will do is help a student understand a little bit more about what it is they might like in a job. It doesn't get too in-depth, that comes a little bit later on in high school, but starts to introduce them to thinking about what they like to do as a youngster, and then what careers that might link to them. As sophomores, the counseling department teams up with the economics teachers. So during economics in either semester 1 or semester 2, school counselors will enter into the economics courses and lead a little bit more in-depth instruction with the Naviance tool. They'll do an additional interest profiler, find out some more, it's called Do What You Are, find out some more about themselves, what skills or what areas they have to work on a little bit. They'll find out about those. They'll also really get in-depth with lists of careers that match their interests, and also start to relate those careers that are of interest to them to some college majors. And then from there, they'll do a research project. Well, they'll research a couple of careers and link that up to particular colleges so they can get the ball rolling with thinking about, although they might be a sophomore at this stage, what should they be doing and how can they look forward to planning a successful life for after Salem High School. Another piece that this is sort of linked to, the career research, goes along with our career day that all sophomores take part of in January. So they can do a little bit more research through Naviance and through that tool to help them figure out what careers it is and what speakers they want to listen to when they go to career day in January. And then we move into junior year, and all along students have access to this tool at home or at school on their own, so they don't need to just wait for their time in class. They can be working. You might have some students who want to do some more investigating on their own outside of the classroom, so they can certainly access their account and their saved information anywhere that they can get online. In their junior year, what counselors will do is meet with them in small groups. We have those coming up this year towards the end of March. And also individually, counselors will reinforce the college search tools that are within Naviance, make sure that students know how to use those so that they can take advantage of the time they have left here with us this spring, time over the summer that they might want to visit some particular schools, and that way they feel more prepared when we get down into the nitty-gritty of what will happen and what will go on for them next fall when they're actually doing their college applications. Another tool within Naviance that we started using this year was signing up for college rep visits. So in addition to doing that research online and looking at the books that come through in the mail and getting out and visiting college campuses, we do have college admissions reps who will come and meet with our students in small individual groups. So as students are thinking about what schools they might like to investigate a little bit further, they can also have a nice sit-down small group conversation with an admissions rep who's often the one reading their application. So junior and senior year, they can sign up to have those visits and those meetings in our guidance office. Another tool that I really like out of the junior year work is the SuperMatch program. And what that looks like is, I don't know if you can see the screen very well, but on the left-hand side, those yellow tabs each have an additional drop down, and if you're a student who knows a lot about where you think you're headed, what size school you want to be headed to, what part of the country you want to be living in, what you might want to study, this is a useful tool for you because you can plug all those factors in and see back a list of schools that match your interests and what you're looking for. And it's also a good tool for students who really have no idea and they just know they want to go to school in New England. They can just plug that vague information in, and this list will start to pop up of schools that match their interests, and they can start plugging away and saving some of their favorite colleges on there. Students will start to save a list of favorite schools, and what that does, that rolls over year to year. So if a student identifies a school they're very interested in their freshman year, they can save that to their list of favorite schools. It stays with them and stays on there as a reminder their sophomore, junior, and senior year as they're doing their planning. And when we have college reps who come in for a visit, what will happen is when we sign that rep up and we enter that visit into Naviance as something that students can sign up for, it'll generate an email and send a notification out to students who have saved that school as a school of interest for them and let them know that a representative is coming in. So they might want to sign up and take advantage of that meeting too. So starting that list early is helpful because you'll start to see and get notifications about an admissions rep who's coming in to meet with students. Again, some more research could be done on the careers tab. Students can go back in and redo either the personality interest inventory or the career interest inventory that they've done as a 9th or 10th grader. If they think some of their ideas have changed or they really want to see if what matched up as a freshman still is something true for them, they may go in and redo that quiz and see if they still end up with the same list of careers or interests that they had before. And they can also save favorite lists of careers as well. So they can develop that list over time and either add to it or take some away once they realize that they've had an elective or two in that field of study and it's not really something that fits them. They might start to realize that it's something they want to take off of their list of favorites. And then into senior year is when Naviance becomes kind of the student's best friend. They start to really generate that list of not just colleges that they're interested in, but the ones that they're actually going to be applying to. Students in their senior year will be requesting letters of recommendation. They'll be requesting that transcripts get sent out electronically. They will be editing and marking what their admissions decisions are. So as they start to hear back about acceptances or having been waitlisted or their final choice of a college, they'll mark that in Naviance as well. And that's something that we can monitor on our end so that we can start to see where our students are being accepted. And I'll show you that tool in a little bit. But that's where they'll do a lot of their management and tracking their deadlines and making sure that they're staying on top of all the documentation and paperwork that they need to be doing as a senior to get their applications out. Right now, this year, we know that 70% of our current seniors have sent in applications, so we feel like we're doing pretty well there. And it was even up a percentage point or two since I checked yesterday. So even now at this time of year, we still have students who are working on their applications and getting things turned in and submitting applications and materials online. Another piece, Mrs. Collier talked about how we had to individually send out college applications back before we had this tool. What many students are taking advantage of and using and sending off to over 600 different colleges that accept it is the Common Application. Some of you are probably familiar with that. Basically what the Common Application does is streamlines many of the demographic information that a student would add onto their college application, puts it all in that one common app, and that can get sent out to over 600 colleges. So you don't have to keep redoing the same information over and over. All of that links up to Naviance, so a student's information will be kind of all funneled through there from our end of things as applications are being sent out along with transcripts and letters of recommendation. So those two really common tools can talk to each other and link up online so that a student really just has to focus on that one place. And we can track everything as the counselors and make sure that everything is getting entered and sent in and everything is getting out on time through the deadlines, and it's all matched up and connected and talking to each other, which is really nice for us too. So it really streamlines all those stacks of papers and books and everything that we used to have to sort through and gets it all into one place for us. At the end of the year, the other thing that we'll do as students are leaving us, we will ask them to complete a senior survey. And what we'll do with the data that comes in from that is start to track where are all of our students heading off to. So we'll keep that data in Naviance as well so that we can have a better understanding and a better idea of where are our students heading, where have they been accepted, how do our students match up against students from other high schools at particular colleges, and we start to use all of that data that comes in. So that's a bit we'll do with the seniors at the end of the year too. Almost as important as the actual college application process is the scholarship application process, because we want to make sure that students are really getting in and applying for money that can be available to them. They'll also do most of their college searching through the scholarship link that's in Naviance as well. So right on that colleges tab, they'll really get into the colleges I'm thinking about, colleges I'm applying to, managing those two different lists. As a senior, they'll move in away from the colleges I'm thinking about and into the ones they're actually applying to. And they'll also use that scholarship tab link that's in there as well. If you can see these two pictures, okay, that top box is the colleges I'm thinking about. And that's the one where students throughout their 4 years here will start to add in schools that are of interest to them. They can mark off if it's their first choice school, if it's a lower priority school for them, if it's somewhere in the middle or pretty high. That way we know, or parents know as they're reviewing their list, what are some of the students' favorite schools that they're interested in. We can help them out and keep them on track with getting everything taken care of. You'll start to see in the different columns right across there, all the decision deadlines are there as well, so that students can map out their school year and figure out, okay, when do I need to be working hard on my deadlines and making sure that all my application materials are turned in. And then some of those other smaller graphics over on the right-hand side will take you right to some information from the college directly. So you might get right to the college's website, right out of Naviance. You can get right to the school's website. Or also, I'll show you a little bit later what it looks like, but a scatter plot of how our students fit in and what are your chances of getting accepted to this particular college based on your SAT scores and your GPA. So that'll be a graph that you can refer to later on. In the colleges I'm applying to, what you can see down in that, the student has matched their Common App, so we know that that part is complete. It'll also list underneath there all of the schools that the student is actually applying to, what type of submission they have. So is it a Common App school, or is it something we need to mail in or send in electronically? The deadline, you'll see under transcript, it's pretty small there, but you can see that it says confirmed. So that means that the transcript request has been confirmed. We can also track if material has been submitted and if it's been received by the colleges, so that when students get those letters that make them panic in the mail that says, I'm missing your transcript or I'm missing your SAT scores, we can log right into Naviance, find out if they've actually received it or not, and do what we can to help them get on track there. And then just a couple of other data management points will show up in that college list too. And then this year, we've included all of our scholarships that have typically been available on the website. We've kind of organized them all within Naviance, so that's another reason why students are really becoming very close and using Naviance quite a bit in their senior year. Right now, we have about 75 different scholarships listed available for Salem High School students, all within Naviance, and that is changing every day. I know we just added 2 more today, so if any students are watching, log into Naviance and apply for some free money. That also, you can either search for a scholarship directly, or you can do kind of like with the college SuperMatch system. The system of Naviance knows what kind of GPA you have, what kind of SAT scores you have, what kind of criteria you're meeting, and it'll generate a list of scholarships that match what you're looking for. So we don't have to have students in rifling through bins and buckets of scholarship applications on paper, because they're getting this list that pops up that fits their criteria and fits what they would need, so they know which ones they should be applying for. And then that grid where you see it says merit-based, need-based, essay requirement, or service requirement, that lets the student know at a pretty quick glance if they're going to have to write an essay along with that scholarship, or the ones below that you see don't have an X there, they don't require an essay to go along with it. It would just be an application that they would download and take care of. So at this point, what I'm going to do is invite one of our good friends, Colleen Parisi, up to share a little bit of her experience. Colleen's a senior with us right now, and she'll fill you in a little bit on how her experience has been working with Naviance over the last few years. So,
Hello. So I came in freshman year, and I have older siblings that went through Salem High School, and I heard them using the term Naviance, and I'm like, what is Naviance? What is, everyone talks about it, and as a freshman, I'd hear it on the announcements. Seniors, make sure you fill in your career interest profiler or anything like that. So freshman year, we had the counselors come in, and they got us familiar with the tool. I don't remember using it a lot freshman year, but I definitely remember getting familiar with it. And then sophomore year, during my economics class, we spent a few weeks, and we were matched with careers that would interest us based on quizzes that we took about our personalities and our skills and weaknesses. And you would I took a better look at some of the careers that came up for me, and found that 2 of my favorite careers that I got were being a teacher and being a school counselor. So I kind of narrowed down out of the whole list of the careers that I got, and over time, after researching, you could click on the link and it would tell you the salary and the job outlook and the benefits or vacation time or the duties. So I kind of took all that information, narrowed it down, and figured out that I want to be a school counselor. So that was helpful in figuring out what college I want to go to, because I could see what programs were good at different colleges, So as a junior, I started researching colleges. And I had a lot of colleges in mind. I was using the tool of colleges I'm thinking about. If I had heard a college that's good for a certain program, I'd add it to my list and then further research it. And I came up with a list of 3 schools that I added to my colleges I'm applying to, which are Salem State University in Salem, Mass., and Plymouth State University and University of New Hampshire. So I applied to all 3 schools and got accepted and figured out after more research that I want to go to UNH to study psychology. And I used Naviance senior year probably the most to send in my applications. I was linked to Common App, so I filled out my Common application. It connected to Naviance and told me that I had still a few days left for the deadline, or if I'd sent it in, I'd check it off, and that was very useful. So I could easily access my SAT scores. It went right on there. I could request my teacher recommendations. So I had a teacher, my English teacher from junior year, had been working on it and had told me when he was done and sent in. And my guidance counselor sent in a recommendation. So those things were easily accessible. And currently, I'm in the process of scholarship search. So it's very efficient to just go on the scholarship page. I can just click it, see more information, the deadlines, the awards, merit-based, need-based essays. So if I'm interested in it, it'll say, oh, you need this GPA, and if I meet that requirement, I'll click it, print it, and get more information on it, fill it out online, or do whatever I need to do. And that has been extremely helpful. I'm still in the process of that. But this tool has helped me to figure out where I'm going and what I want to do. And I honestly don't know what I would do without it. It's kind of become my best friend. So that is how I've used that, yes.
Thank you. Sure. I promise we did not pick her because of her career path. It just happened that way. So she is really an exemplary student. But there are many, many students who would probably come up and say the same thing about how they've been in and not realizing how great of a tool it is until they sit back at the end of their senior year and say, I would not have been able to keep track of all of this stuff if I hadn't had it all right there at my fingertips. So also along with that, a very important and key player in the college application process is the parent. It's a family decision really when you're thinking about where your son or daughter is going to go to college. So it's important that we have parents involved in that process as well. Through the Naviance Family Portal, parents can have their own account and they can look at results and look at things for each of their students or each of their children. They can review those survey results so they can see the list of careers or potential colleges that have come up for favorites for their students. They can also add colleges as well. In their senior year, we ask that parents fill out a brag sheet, because oftentimes what we find as counselors is that students get a little bit shy when it's time for them to really brag and boast about their accomplishments over the last 4 years, so we like to get the parents' input as well. So filling out that brag sheet is very helpful for us to learn a little bit more about what the student does outside of these walls. Colleges and application status. Parents can help their student monitor that and keep on track of the deadlines and really make sure that everything's getting in on time. And then they also would receive emails and newsletters similar to the way that we have the Infinite Campus Messenger that goes out. We can use Naviance as a tool to send out messages, and it'll have that same welcome screen that the students have. The parent profile, they might have some documents in there that they might save. Maybe there are certificates they want to upload and save in there under the Documents tab to remind themselves later on that their student has accomplished. They can also click on each of those little assessments too and see what the results were for their students. And down in the bottom there, you'll see the favorite colleges, favorite careers and clusters, so that they can see what their students are selecting as some of their top choices along the way throughout those 4 years. So that'll be important for you moving forward. And I will go back. Oh, and there is also an additional page in here that is very helpful, the parent and student tools that are accessible for the parents and the students to use. I will ask Ms. Santo to come up and speak a little bit. Colleen Santo is one of the parents of a current student, and she's also a teacher here. So she'll be able to speak to her experience a little bit about what it was like using Naviance as a tool as a parent going through the college application process.
Thank you. So as a parent of a high school senior and a student that just graduated 2 years ago, I've had a lot of opportunity to work in Naviance. As far as the benefits I find of it, is that I feel like sometimes when I'm looking for information that I think is going to be helpful in the college decision process, like the cost of attendance, what kind of financial aid is available to students, that college websites can be really overwhelming to find that information. You're going to navigate through a lot of stuff to get the answers that you need. And Naviance provides all that information really right at your fingertips. So something like, my son might be interested in looking at location, the size of school, college majors. I'm looking at other things. So all that information is right there in the screen that students access when they're looking at colleges they're thinking of applying to. The How You Compare tool is something I thought was really beneficial. It takes your child's GPA, SAT scores, ACT scores, and compares it to what the college admission criteria is. So that way we can make decisions on what schools we think are within reach. I don't know if any of you have kids that have just graduated, but the application fees that right now are pretty expensive, and when we're looking at narrowing down the list, again, I want to be able to make those decisions on, schools that are within his reach according to, his GPA. The application history tab was another feature that I really liked. It allowed me to go in and look at what other students in Salem High are applying to and how many of those students were accepted to that school. So that was kind of a nice little indicator. And the parent having their own login, own access to Naviance was great. I think Nicole had already mentioned this, that to be able to monitor the application process, the college application process was important because we're all part of this decision. And the email feature, getting newsletters, monthly newsletters, scholarship deadlines, getting information on when FAFSA filing stuff information was coming out. That was all pretty easy to retrieve from Naviance, and it was in a timely fashion that parents need. So those are just some of the tools that I thought were great, and I thought the program was really easy to use, so for any parents. So thank you.
Check it out. Thank you. And of course, we also have teachers who are involved in the process as well. And Naviance is a tool that teachers will access as well. As we've mentioned a couple of times, students will request letters of recommendation. So as students are going through and filling out their applications, they'll send a notification through Naviance, along with having a personal one-on-one conversation with teachers that they're asking to write a letter of recommendation. So that will all be connected, and teachers will submit that through Naviance, along with any supplemental forms or supplemental questions that would go along with the Common App. So you may find that one or two particular schools have specific short answer questions that they might like answered, or specific teacher forms that they want filled out. So those would also get filled out and completed through Naviance as well. And similar to the way a student and a counselor would, teachers can monitor their applications that they're working on and the students that they're helping out with the program and see where they're doing as far as deadlines. This year, we've had about 1,800 letters of recommendation submitted on behalf of our students, so it is definitely being used quite a bit. We've had a lot of busy teachers, and we're very thankful for the work that they've done to help our students out and taking the time to write those letters as well. In and within the school counseling department, one very important person that's within our department is the school counseling secretary. She, Mrs. Satelli, works very hard to make sure that our scholarship list is updated in there so that students know what they have available for scholarship applications. She also manages the communication and makes sure that the college reps who are coming in and visiting in the fall have those meetings set up, and that the notification goes out to students who are interested in meeting with those reps. And she also helps get those meetings facilitated and making sure that we have reps coming in, that they have students to meet with, and that if counselors are interested, that we all know too who's coming in and when they're going to be there. She also logs in daily to mark and figure out what new transcript requests have come in so that counselors are made aware of any new requirements that are coming in and coming their way for students on their caseload. and really just make sure that all the communication that's facilitated through Naviance goes on and happens. And just as much as the Naviance program has been the student's best friend, it is our best friend as well in the counselor world. We really facilitate the introduction to the program. We work with the economics teachers to make sure that we're using it as a tool on that project we've always worked with them on, and making sure that students know how to research different careers. We coordinate the group meetings that go on to review the Naviance tools as juniors, and then really spend a lot of time going over the different needs and the different tasks that will be required of students early in their senior year, to talk about college applications, tracking your application status, and making sure that students know how to use the tool and stay on top of their college applications. It looks a little bit different when we log in as counselors. You can see that there are a different setup to the screen there. One of the things that I like the best is that first pie chart. Right when you log in, you can click on either the percentage that says applied and see the quick list of students who have completed their applications, or if you want to make sure that you're getting on top of and working with students who haven't finished their applications yet, you can click on that piece of the chart there, and it'll pop you up a list of students who haven't finished their applications yet, and you can get right down to working with those students one-on-one if you should need to give them some assistance. And then also, on the right-hand side there, you can see that we as counselors are able to see who has submitted letters of recommendation, if they've been received or not, and also just kind of help keep on top of those deadlines that go in. We also, at the very bottom, you'll see manage the transcripts that are uploaded. What we will do is we will batch upload and go ahead and upload any new copies of transcripts that need to be fixed, so that everything is up to date in Naviance and the colleges are downloading the most up-to-date information there. Another way that Naviance will be used is more for data tracking, so that we can kind of monitor the status of our students over the years. So what I will do is I will communicate with any Naviance representatives if we should need to get some updates made, if we're having any trouble. We've always found that they're very helpful and very easy to work with. So if we're having a hard time with any piece that we have access to, they will help us figure it out. They also work with many schools when there are new ideas of ways that we would like to see their tools improved. They will certainly listen to us, and sometimes we've seen some of our recommendations come through as improvements they've made to the program. I'll make sure that all the staff members have the accounts and the rights that they need, so that any teacher who needs to upload letters of recommendation and work with students has the ability to do so. And we'll also use those senior surveys and information that we get out of the National Student Clearinghouse, so that we can make sure that our data of where our students have headed and where they're going and when they have graduated is all up to date, so that we can help our students who are currently here make good choices for the future, because we've seen where students have headed off to and where they've had success. And, the Alumni Tracker, that's sort of what comes out of that data input that we do. On here, you'll see that students from the class of 2011, we have about 41% who've graduated from college. 17% of them are still listed as being full-time, and then you'll see some of those other smaller portions of the pie chart there. Let us know where else, or if we aren't really sure where some students have ended up. In the class of 2012, right now we have about 42% of those students who are still full-time, which is what we would expect if they're headed off for a 4-year degree. 5% are still half-time, 7% have graduated, so maybe they've completed early or they finished an associate's degree. So you can see some of that, and that's some of the things that we'll start to grow and work with over the course of the next few years, as well as we get more data entered in there. And then this is just a sample for you. It might be kind of hard to read on the screen, but this is one of the tools that we would use. I know Ms. Santo mentioned it as well. When we're working with students to really help them figure out what is a good school for you to be applying to. Where is a target school, a reach school, or a safety school for you? When we enter in and make sure that students' GPAs and students' SAT and ACT scores get uploaded, one of the tools that comes out of that is this kind of scatter plot, so that we can see where do you as a student fit with your SAT scores and GPA, and are you where all of those green dots are, which are Salem High School students who have been accepted at the University of New Hampshire, or are you falling where some of those red X's are those who have students who have been denied from the University of New Hampshire? And we can help them figure out and track, is this a good school for me to be applying to? Where do I fall? Where do I fit in? It also, what I really like, helps generate that conversation of that it's not just one factor that's deciding whether or not a student is accepted at a college. It's multiple factors, because you can see here we've had students who have higher GPAs or higher SAT scores not be accepted. over a student who has had a lower GPA or lower SAT score, but maybe they had a more compelling personal story or a better looking transcript over the course of 4 years. So you can really have that discussion over what is the whole picture of you as a student and how do you fit into some of the other Salem High School students that have been accepted at their school. So with all of that, I still don't even feel like I've told you all that everything can happen within Naviance. But if there is any questions that I can try and answer for you now over some of that information, or if I can do a little research for you on anything and get back to you, we'd certainly be happy to take care of that as well.
Okay, questions from the board?
I'll make a comment,
Patty?
because it was so informative. I don't have many questions, but this was excellent.
great.
Thank you. And as a parent, I'm very interested, like Mrs. Palmer said. Just back to the scatter plot. Was
Yeah.
that by, I just can't see that well, and I didn't
I
want
know.
to pull that up on the, was that by school? Is
So
it
up
a-
at the top, it says University of New Hampshire at Durham.
Okay,
So
so
this
it is
scatter
by
plot
school.
just has our Salem High School students. So you're not looking at the students from, across the country that have been accepted there, but where do you fit in up against former Salem students that have applied there?
Right. Okay, great,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes. In the event that you have a parent who isn't a teacher here or familiar with
Yeah,
Naviance.
sure.
How does a parent get assistance with this if they would like assistance?
Certainly. What we have done recently is given all parents their access code again and registration as a reminder, and sent a little letter home with them in the mail with their code so they can log in along with information as a refresher. Because certainly, if you get introduced as a freshman, you might not, as a parent, be using it that much, and you might need a reminder about how to get in. And then if anyone were to have questions, they can definitely call the school counseling office, and any one of us would be able to help out, walk them through the process, and break it down for them, and certainly help them out as well, too.
Have
We
you-
do have a lot of information on our school counseling website, too, that might be helpful.
Have you received many requests from parents for assistance with the program, or?
With the program, no, I have not. There have been some parent meetings, we will bring it up and refresh their memories as a tool, that this is something they have access to as well, and make sure that they know that, they don't just have to log in as with their student's account, they can access it as a parent as well, and maybe add some colleges or add some other careers they'd like their student to research too. So,
By the time I was applying to college, Naviance hadn't been invented. In fact, computers hadn't been invented at that point. But from what I can see here, it looks pretty intuitive. Like it's,
yeah, I think most people generally find it very easy to use.
Good.
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kimball?
Just a couple. On the college match program,
Yep.
how does the data, does the Naviance, the software company, do they compile that data, or do the schools themselves submit in response, if you know?
Right.
How Naviance gets their information, such as on fees and on majors and ethnicity, the sort of the tabs that I'm looking at?
They do get the information directly from each college. I don't believe that it's Naviance going out and creating that themselves. I could certainly find out for you exactly where that information comes from, and is it supplied by the universities and the colleges that take part in the program, but we've had great success with finding that all the data that's in there is accurate. So,
And probably not so much for you, but maybe for the people over here, do we, I don't have my budget book with me, do we have a rough idea of how this is, what the cost is to the district and how that is calculated? In other words, is it based on a data access level, or is it a flat fee for the entire district, no matter how many people use it? Do you know?
So it's a combination. We own several modules within Naviance. So for example, Alumni Tracker is something newer for us as a district.
Okay.
Roughly $4,700 for the entire program. The flat fee is, there's a per student fee, and then each of the modules have a slight fee, but overall, the grand total is $4,700.
Okay, $4,700 for the entire use for the high
The
school?
entire use for all 4 years of Salem High School.
It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm good. I have a question on the parent use. We seem to be able to track the kids' use of, the students' use of the program. Can we track how many parents actually use it?
yes, yep. On the directors and the school counselors' view, I can pull reports and see where our parents are at, how many parents are logging in, and how often they're logging in. Same with students and teachers as well, so I can kind of keep an eyeball on that and how often folks are using it, which is part of what came out of making this presentation for you folks was a refresher for those of us who it's become second nature for, that we need to do a better job of making sure that parents know they have that access and helping them get on board with it. So it is something that we can watch.
And I just want to thank Mrs. Santo and Ms. Parisi for coming out tonight. Thank you. You both did a great job. If there's any other questions, Mrs. Palmer, Dr. Delonte?
I have a question. So I was going to ask about tracking student access. See, what you just said is you can enter a student's name or.
There's a report we can pull to see student usage or parent
and that
usage,
would
so we
would that
can see.
include whether or not access is being done from home or outside school hours?
It's just a number of
Just a
how
number.
many times they've logged in. So
So
I wouldn't
no
know
length
if
of
it's at
time that
home
they
or
would've
here. But we
Just-
would know
just
that they would have done it in seminar and in
access to
economics.
10
but-
times or
Yep,
52
yes,
times?
yep. We would see that, just the number.
Yeah, same with parents, how many
Yep,
times?
yes.
access?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you for the comprehensive presentation.
No problem.
Really a lot of information.
I know.
Certainly for anybody that has a high school student that's perhaps aspiring to a college, and I hope all of them are. I also want to comment, the freshman counselors are actually introducing this, correct?
Yep.
And then counselors going in when students are at sophomores. So they're
Yes.
getting when they're a captive audience.
Yes.
Which is excellent, a tremendous way of introducing it. And I think the information and just the efficiency of how the process can be completed is worth the investment of funds just alone.
Yeah.
Because everything is a sort of like a one-stop shop
Mm-hmm.
for measuring. And I think Mrs. Santo made the comment about application fees today and the expense associated. You really don't want to have 10 applications going to 10 schools that may be beyond where you should be aspiring. And I know that all your counselors do a wonderful job of outlining what a safety school is and et cetera, but you don't want to put all your eggs in the reach basket.
Right.
So you did a wonderful job. Colleen, you did a terrific job, very well spoken, as though you had memorized the entire presentation, but I knew you hadn't. You did an outstanding, very poised for a young lady. It was very good. And Mrs. Santo, thank you for taking your time to come out this evening and do that. It was nice of the administrators and the counselors to be here as well, so thank you. This was terrific. Nice job.
Thank you for the opportunity and also for the crew that helped put it all together as well.
Thank you.
You want
You.